Alright, in this video I'll be installing some Rock Shox Judy silvers onto this GT Aggressor Pro. This fork costs $210 Canadian on sale, so about 150 bucks US. It is a big upgrade from the fork that comes with it, and you can see that it is a Judy, not the Recon, so it does have smaller stanchions, but it is lighter in weight. It has a lockout mode, but it's either fully off or fully on, and then it's got about 5 clicks of dampening, so it could either be really fast like a pogo stick, or you could slow it down quite significantly. Overall, pretty good adjustment for what it is. 42 millimeter offset. It has 120 millimeters of travel, and obviously it's a 27.5 for the tire size. Now, it does not come with a crown race, so I'm going to have to get the crown race off of my old fork. And I do have tools for that. Links in the description for all the tools and everything I really use in this video. You can see there are some spacers that come with the GT Aggressor Pro. I'm going to remove those and put aluminum ones on, and then I'm going to put some spacers up top as well. Now for some of the tools I got, this is all Amazon stuff. I got these spacers, like I already sort of mentioned. I picked up this star nut installation tool, again Amazon, pretty cheap. Definitely there are more expensive versions out there. It does come with a few star nuts, but the Rock Shox also came with their own star nut, so I used that one instead. I got a cutting guide for the steerer tube on the fork. Again, Amazon, links in the description for everything I used. I went cheap for everything, but everything worked well. And then I got this thing to install the crown race onto the new fork. And it worked well as well. All the tools worked well, even though they are budget versions of sort of normal tools. And the weight on the fork is 2.13 kilograms, and that is 4.69 pounds. 4.69 pounds to start with. Now to get this thing on, the first thing I'm going to do is remove the brakes off the old fork. And this is just the caliper, so there's a little plastic piece that's kind of a retainer to make sure that the bolt doesn't back out, and then there's 2 bolts, top and bottom, connect to the old fork. So I'm just going to get those off. Do not lose your hardware while you're doing this, and just make sure you remember the way that things go back together. Very key. Once the bolts are out, I'll just move the brake caliper out of the way. There's also a bolt on the fork, and you need to loosen it. You don't have to take it all the way off, but loosen it so that you can get the brake lines off of the old fork. And then that's all freed up, and you can move that out of the way. And then I removed the front tire. Now, I don't have a bike stand, which is why I do certain things the way I do, just to make it easy to work with without having a bike stand, but I find having that tire off is easier. Now, really just got to remove the front fork here. So there is a single bolt on top, and you remove that, and that's sort of the piece that holds everything together. So once that is out, you just need to loosen the 2 bolts that are on either side of the stem. Unfortunately, they're not all the same sized Allen keys, so you do need quite a few Allen keys to do this job. And you can see that the fork is cut so that it is below the level of the stem, and that's where you want it, and that's how I'm going to have to cut the new fork as well. So these are the spacers that came with it. I thought these spacers were aluminum. I was wrong. GT put plastic spacers on this. You could sort of see that you could see through them. So they are not aluminum, and I end up using just the aluminum ones that I got off Amazon. So again, put the spacers to the side. Like I said, remove everything carefully and make sure that you put it back the exact same way that you took it out. So once all the spacers and stuff are off the top, you could pull the fork out of the bottom. And this one, it just sort of drops out. There's nothing really holding it in unless it's rusted perhaps in place, but as long as it's not rusted in place, then it should just come straight out without too much issue. And that's it. That's the removal of the front fork. I still do need to get off that crown race, but before I do that, I'll just throw this thing on the scale. And once again, this is in kilograms. So 2.69 kilograms is about 5.93 pounds. Overall, this saves about 1.25 pounds by doing this upgrade. So not only are you saving 1.25 pounds, you're also getting a much better fork. So big win all the way around. So now to remove this crown race, I did not get any tools for it. I have 4 razor blades and a little hammer. So really I just take the first razor blade, bang it in between the fork and the bottom of the crown race, And then I add another razor blade and do the same thing. Add another razor blade. Once again, just pound it in between, I guess in this case, the razor blade and the top of the crown. So it's slowly pushing that crown race up and off. The steerer tube does flare out a little bit at the bottom, and that's why it's a little bit difficult to remove them from the bottom once they're down there. But once you've moved it about half an inch, it should just come off all the way without any difficulty after that. This is also the reason that you need a special tool to put the crown race back onto the new fork, because again, it is flared slightly at the bottom, even though it's called a straight steerer tube. It's not perfectly straight. It does flare out a little bit to accept this crown race. So that's sort of got it popped off far enough that it's moving, and then I just take a flathead, give a little twist, and it comes right off. So pretty good technique. It doesn't damage any of the paint on the fork. It doesn't damage the crown race. Good to go. Now, installation of the crown race, also pretty easy. I do use that one tool that I got from Amazon, and I do use some Phil's waterproof grease to help slide this thing on. And I've had that Phil's grease for about 25 years now, and I'm still working on the same tube. So don't feel bad if you spend, $15 on a tube of good bike grease. It will probably last you your entire life unless you are a bicycle mechanic. So once it's greased, I'll just take the crown race and slide it onto the Rock Shox fork. And I will just point out that the piece of plastic is still on the bottom of this fork. So the bottom of the fork is not being pounded into the cardboard box and the cement underneath it. And to use this tool, you just slide the blue piece over the crown race. And obviously the crown race needs to cup that blue piece. So there are different orientations for different size crown races. And then you use the silver piece to beat it into place. Looking at it initially, it looks pretty good, although I do take a few bonus hits onto the crown race to make sure that it's fully seated in place. And again, like I said, there's still that plastic piece on the bottom, so I'm not actually hitting the fork into the cement. And once you're happy that the crown race is fully seated and it's even all the way around, you're pretty much done. That's all there is to it. And before I install the fork into the bike, I do hit it with some more grease. Although admittedly, the fork does come in and out of the bike a few times, so perhaps greasing it later would have been a better idea. But either way, the fork gets greased up a few times here. Now the next step in this is to cut the steerer tube down, but to do that, because I'm adding spacers, I can't use the measurements off the old fork to cut the new fork. So instead, I'm going to install the fork. I'm going to set it up as I want it, and then I'm going to mark the fork where I want it cut based on how I want it set up. So I'll put all of the pieces that need to go back on the fork. So all of the spacers, that sort of thing. And just to show you on my bike, you can see there's 2 spacers above the stem, and my bike came like that. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with the GT Aggressor Pro. So I've already put the stem on, and then I will just take the 2 large spacers and I'll drop those on. And now I'm going to measure that. So I got to get the exact height of the top of the second spacer. And to score it, I'm just going to use one of those razor blades that I had for removing the crown race. And that's just to scratch the paint so that I know where to cut. You could use something like a pencil or a marker, but obviously it's black paint, so it's not going to show up well. And since I'm cutting the fork anyways, it's not a big deal to cause a scratch on the paint on the steerer tube. So you can see it right there, very well marked on the steerer tube. Now I'm going to take one of the smallest spacers from the package of spacers that I bought, and this should be the 3mm spacer, and I'm going to draw a second line approximately 3mm below the first line that I drew. And that line is where I'm going to cut the fork. And the reason for this is because you don't want your fork to be at the same height as the top spacer. You want it a couple millimeters below where the top of the spacer is, and that way when you put your top cap on, it's actually compressing down on the spacer and not the top of the steerer tube. If it's pushing on the steerer tube, you will not be achieving that compression, so you do want it to be only touching the spacer or the top of your stem. So you do need to cut that fork slightly below the top of your upper spacer, at least for this GT Aggressor Pro. You may have some other setup for different types of forks, that kind of thing, that actually require it to be at the same level, but for this, it does need to be slightly below the top spacer. Or if you're not using spacers, slightly below the top of your stem. Setting up the cutting guide is obviously pretty straightforward. Just clamp it in place and then use a hacksaw. That's all there is to it. Just cut it where you want it cut. This cutting guide is also set up so that you can set it into a vise, but I don't have a vise, so I just use the hacksaw straight. And then obviously clean it up. If there's a bunch of metal poking out of the top of the fork, use a file or something. Mine cut off pretty smoothly. So you can see I'm about 3 millimeters or so below the top of that spacer. And that is about where you want it, give or take. Now it's time to put in the star nut. So I'll get this star nut driving tool. And the first thing you do is just thread the star nut onto the tool. Obviously keeping in mind which direction it's going to go into the fork. And screw it all the way down until it reaches the bottom of the tool. Then slide it inside of the guide. Put the guide over the fork. And now you're going to take a hammer and smash the top of this star nut installation tool until it is flush with the anodized orange guide. And that'll make sure that the star nut goes in evenly, that it doesn't get twisted. It'll also make sure that it's driven into the correct depth. So as soon as it doesn't go in any further, that means you're done. So you could take off the guide and then you could remove this little driving tool out of there. Obviously it just threads in and out, and that's it. So each of these tools cost about $30, but each of them were worth the $30. And that's obviously Canadian. So if you don't have these tools, I do recommend that you do get the tools. It is useful. Even if you do this job only once, those tools are of value. And that's pretty much it for getting things set up. Now I just got to put everything back together. So obviously making sure that you put things on the right way around again, make sure that you have not flipped anything upside down that shouldn't be upside down. Get your spacers on the way you want them, and then you could drop your handlebars on top of your spacers. Since this is going to be the last time I put the fork onto the bike, you do need to make sure that your cables didn't get twisted or they get pushed onto the wrong side of the bike, that sort of thing. So just make sure that everything's set up correctly as you want it now. Put the spacers on top, and then I'm going to install this top nut now. I'm not going to bring it all the way down to the correct torque spec, but I am going to put it by hand so that when I'm moving the bike around, everything doesn't fall off, because that would be very annoying. So after tightening it just hand tight, I give it a little test. It is going pretty smooth. And then I put the tire back on. With the tire on, I could take the brake caliper and get it put into the right position. And then once again, there's 2 screws that hold the brake caliper on. And I screw those on by hand initially. And then I do take the torque wrench, and for most things on the bike, I'm at between 6 and 8 Newton meters. I don't know if that's perfect for every nut and bolt on this thing, but this isn't a car, so you're not getting into those 100 foot-pound torque specs on anything. Everything's pretty light. And then there is a retaining clip for the top bolt that I put back on. Now with the tire and brake installed, I'm just going to tighten up the top cap on this thing and then tighten the stem down onto the fork as well. So each side of the stem should be at 6 Newton meters, and that's what I'm going to.
You're going to want to make sure that the stem is in line with the wheel so it doesn't look funny. So just to reiterate, top cap 6 Newton meters, and then the 2 stem bolts are going to be at 6 Newton meters as well.
And really the last thing to do here is get the brake cable set up on the fork properly. There is a little retaining clip just like on the old fork. It is a bit of a pain to put in there, but it's just 1 screw, and just have that nice and tight, and that'll ensure that your brake line doesn't get pulled into your tire. And then I do use a zap strap up top because this is a pretty long front brake cable. So I do think it's of value to have it strapped at the top as well, just to make sure that it doesn't get sucked into the tires. And that's it. So this does have 120 millimeters of travel, but I think you can reduce it. There's some spacers inside of the fork if you didn't like the height of the fork, but they do sell a 100 millimeter version as well. And that would probably be better if you wanted to ensure that your geometry stayed the same. I think this fork will put the front end up a little higher, which kind of increases the rake in the front. But I've already ridden it around some trails and stuff, and I actually like the 120 millimeter travel fork. It doesn't ride strange at all. And overall, I think this is a great upgrade. 1.25 pound of savings, a much smoother fork, and way more travel. I think it looks great, and it was pretty easy to install, but obviously you do need a couple extra tools to do this. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.